Known for her iconic split-dyed hair, trademark raspy vocals, and unique sound that fused industrial metal with dance pop, Porcelain Black had some of the key components to become one of the biggest artists in the world. But following management not understanding her vision, clashes with producers, and endless delays to her debut album, her career just couldn't take off in the way her sound deserved. To this day, Porcelain Black's highly anticipated debut album has never been released. Her YouTube channel appears to have been abandoned, and her core MySpace fanbase seems to have given up any hope of a true musical comeback from the artist. Was it a bad working attitude, severe mismanagement from record labels, or just a string of bad luck? Today I'm going to be examining the career of songwriter and performer Porcelain Black, formerly known as Porcelain and the Tramps of MySpace fame. From her career beginnings at Virgin Records to working as a songwriter for both herself and other artists under Red One, it really seemed like she had all the components to take off as a global phenomenon. So what exactly happened? Please excuse my voice throughout this video, I am dying sick. Porcelain Black, real name Elena Marie Beaton, was born in Detroit in 1985 to an accountant mother and a hairstylist father. Her father owned his own salon and would bring her along to fashion shows and photo shoots while he was working, something that taught Black to value individuality greatly. Her father's music taste, which consisted of classic rock artists like Led Zeppelin and other influential acts such as David Bowie, has been cited as an influence on her own music. Porcelain was also a passionate dancer during her childhood, having trained in multiple styles and competing at a national level. At one point she was even training to perform on Broadway. She was expelled from multiple schools in her teen years for fighting, and at 16 feigned homeschooling after dropping out, at which age her father unfortunately also passed away, which was a really difficult process for her and led her to act out. After her second expulsion, Black ran away from home and ended up crashing with students in a University of Michigan dorm room for 6 months, before going on the road with the band Armour for Sleep, whose drummer she had been friends with since she was a child. Deciding she wanted to get clean after coming back to Detroit, she convinced a friend to go on a road trip with her. Her father had always wanted to take her for her 16th birthday, but obviously unfortunately this never got to happen. It was this trip to New York City that would change the entire trajectory of her life and lead her to entering the music industry. Black was discovered in New York by her first manager, after meeting another singer while in the W Hotel on Times Square, who inquired if she was in a band based on her appearance. Black answered that she was, despite not having created any music herself yet. The woman called her manager, an employee of Virgin Records, who met Porcelain the next day and advised her to move to Los Angeles. After turning 18, Porcelain did exactly this, and true to his word, the man began working as her manager after she was able to link up with him. She was signed to Virgin UK 2 weeks later. Black already had the type of music she wanted to make in mind upon getting signed. While she was a Britney Spears superfan, her other musical influences consisted of artists like Nine Inch Nails, Skinny Puppy, and Hole. The singer herself has even described her music as the love child of Marilyn Manson and Britney Spears. This led her to seeking out and creating an industrial pop sound, complete with raspy, growling vocals. She had expressed to the label that this was the kind of sound she wanted to create, and got to work in the studio shortly after getting signed, with a majority of the material being recorded in London. While recording, Black got to work with some notable musicians such as Alice Cooper guitarist Tommy Hendrickson and esteemed guitarist John Five, who has been in more big-name bands than I could list. This desire to make industrial pop music was the beginning of her problems with Virgin, however. It was treated with skepticism by her collaborators and frowned upon by overheads at Virgin, who were attempting to push her more towards a pop-punk sound resembling Avril Lavigne. When the recording process had finished, Virgin hated what she had created and told her it was not marketable. If this Reddit anecdote is to be believed, and honestly a lot of the details do line up, Porcelain would go on to record another set of songs for the album, and while Virgin loved it, in a meeting with Virgin regarding the release and promotion of the album, she would announce that she hated the songs and they weren't what she had set out to create, and so the album release was dropped. Despite her career going into limbo for the first time, Black was unable to get out of her contract with Virgin. Not letting her recorded material go to waste, she uploaded the entirety of her Porcelain and the Tramps recorded material to her MySpace page, Rock City Nosebleed, a year and a half after it was initially recorded. This garnered her a modest fanbase instantly, with the songs receiving over 10 million plays total. Despite this proving Virgin's claims about the tracks not being marketable wrong, they still had no desire to grant them an official release. Songs from this time period, most notably F Like a Star, Red Light District, and My Leftovers, were full of attitude and grit, with harsh industrial production, while still being very danceable and catchy, and still remains some of her best known work, despite the project ultimately being scrapped. During her hiatus in creating music for herself, Black set to work as a songwriter for other artists. She co-wrote and had backup vocals on the Used song Lunacy Fringe, and also has credits on songs for One Direction, Orianthi, among many other artists. She was even approached by Courtney Love to do backup vocals for one of her solo albums during this time. What ultimately got Porcelain out of her contract with Virgin was producer Red One, who was perhaps best known for working with Lady Gaga in her early days. After being told about Porcelain and her situation through a mutual friend, Red One invited her to his office and told her he needed to work with her. This seemed like exactly the career turnaround she needed, and the very next day the pair got to work in the studio and came up with the track This Is What Rock and Roll Looks Like, which would later become her debut single. Red One proceeded to help Black break away from Virgin and signed her with his label 2101 Records, a subsidiary of Universal Records. During her time under Red One, it's claimed she ghost-wrote a lot of songs for bigger artists, including Nicki Minaj, Pitbull and Jennifer Lopez. After signing with Red One, Porcelain Black decided to change her name to that stage name rather than Porcelain and the Tramps, as it was causing too much confusion with people who thought it was a band, myself included when I discovered her. Porcelain had been a childhood nickname given to her by an aunt alongside an extensive collection of porcelain dolls who she thought resembled her. Black was chosen as her stage surname as it simply served as a juxtaposition to the fragile labelling of porcelain. In a 2011 interview with Freewired, Porcelain said she would be happy to revisit the Porcelain and the Tramps project in the future and was keeping the songs under that name for a separate project. This made sense because along with the change in name came a change in sound. Songs created by Porcelain after signing with Red One were a lot more sanitized, dropping a lot of the harsh industrial noisiness of her early work for more dance-driven melodies and upbeat vocal deliveries. It wasn't a complete departure sonically at all, but you can definitely see visible differences before and after the transition. While the songs King of the World and I'm Your Favorite were remastered for her upcoming album with Red One, these were the only two to make the cut. Her work with Red One also garnered her more music industry connections, and during this time, Black also appeared in music videos by artists such as Jack White, Travis McCoy and Jeffree Star. I swear to God, that motherfucker just shows up everywhere, doesn't he? The latter of which she also collaborated on a song with. She also came to be under new management during this time, Derek L. Lawrence, who also managed Lil Wayne. This led to Lil Wayne offering Porcelain Black an opening spot on his I Am Music tour, which is a bit of a strange lineup. I'd imagine there's not a lot of fan crossover. Lil Wayne also ended up as a featured artist on the official single release of This Is What Rock and Roll Looks Like in 2011. The song actually saw some pretty decent success, peaking at number 6 on Billboard's Dance Club chart, and the music video on YouTube is currently sitting at 25 million views. Lil Wayne's Rocky Road was iconic. Black managed to get a couple features on songs by other artists and continued working away at her new album, and overall, things were really looking up for her. Red One was even able to secure her a cameo role in the jukebox musical movie Rock of Ages, where she played the lead singer of a glam metal band. The song she sang during her appearance, Rock Angels, was one of the few original songs to be included in the movie, and she also made her television debut on The Late Night Show with David Letterman under this theme. Another single, Naughty Naughty, would be released at the end of 2011. During this time, Black announced that the title Mannequin Factory had been selected for the album, indicating it was coming soon. Under Red One, she also started incorporating rapping into her music. In a 2011 interview with M Live, she states that she and Red One were just putting the finishing touches on the album, having recorded songs in New York, Madrid and Sweden. All songs on the tracklist at this point in time were collaborations in composition by Porcelain and Red One, aside from one song called How Do You Love Someone, which Black had written while at Virgin, but was pressured to give to Ashley Tisdale, who went on to record it. Black intended to reclaim it for her album. It really would have appeared Porcelain and Red One were a powerhouse working duo during this time, with Porcelain constantly singing his praises in interviews and even referring to her and the team as family. When Red One's label went under as part of Universal Republic and became a subsidiary of Capitol Records, it would spell out the future for the album as it received its first of many delays. In 2012, Black would marry Bradley Swallow, a model known for his appearances in multiple of Lana Del Rey's music videos from this period, most notably Born to Die. The marriage lasted 2 years before the pair divorced, allegedly due to him being domestically abusive. 2013 would finally see the release of more new material, with a 5-week promotional period planned that would see her highly anticipated album being released at the end, though this didn't play out as planned, with only her song Mama Forgive Me being released. Throughout the remainder of 2013, the songs Rich Boy, Pretty Little Psycho, and One Woman Army, which was a surprise hit in France, would all be released as singles. Pretty Little Psycho has gone pretty viral in nightcore spaces in the years since its release, and as a result has become her biggest song. Later in 2013, during an interview on a French radio station, Black stated that while the names Black Rainbow and Mannequin Factory had both been considered in the past, the album did not have an official title as of that point. She stated that the original concept for the album may also not play out, as she had since recorded more material, as she had started recording with other producers following the album getting delayed. It would appear that this would be the beginning of the breakdown of her relationship with Red One. Black also started beefing with other musicians during this point, getting into a Twitter spat with Azalea Banks, receiving a copyright dispute from Deadmau5, and a big falling out with her friend and former collaborator, Jeffree Star.
So you can act gangster and talk all the shit you want, You're irrelevant, no one fucks with you, and all your friends talk shit behind your back.
Perhaps most notably, she had a pretty one-sided fight with Lady Gaga where she accused the pop star of ripping off her style. While this is obviously not really accurate, the two did start their careers around the same time and ran in similar management circles. And despite this, their careers resulted in two very different levels of success. So I do have some form of empathy for her animosity, not saying that makes it right. Red One's label was going downhill, and Porcelain Black was not the only artist signed to him whose career was stuck in limbo. The pair's relationship continued to sour, and after multiple conflicts she was dropped from the label around the end of 2014. It's alleged she was made sign an NDA after leaving the label, and parts of the album ended up being leaked in 2015, allegedly by Red One himself, and some of the songs can be found on YouTube. Black announced after leaving the label that any plans for an official comeback album were cancelled, as Red One co-owned the majority of songs written. Furthermore, it is alleged that, as per her contract, either some or all of her royalties for any songs she helped ghostwrite had to be paid to Red One. For context, one of the songs she is alleged to have co-written as a ghostwriter is Starships by Nicki Minaj. If this information is true, it's a seriously shady business practice, and she potentially lost out on a lot of money. There's been allegations in the years since of Black clashing heads with her production collaborators after Red One as well, but obviously his presence in her career sticks out, as with each album delay, the hype around her career would fizzle. She never really seemed to reclaim the same anticipation after being dropped from his label, though this was not the end for her, and she would continue to make music. While it was reported Porcelain wanted to return to her roots and record something more akin to Porcelain and the Tramps for her next endeavour, her ultimate next release was the EP 313, a 4-track project that was rather dissimilar to anything she had released previously. The production was much softer, with the songs being more slow and mid-tempo, and less of a growling emphasis on the vocals. This was said to be a precursor to what would finally be her official full-length album. However, Porcelain would once again go silent following this release, before beginning to tease a song called Thorns at the beginning of 2020. Thorns would also experience delays in being released due to a knee surgery, and Porcelain having a baby, but eventually saw the light of day at the end of the year, along with 2 more songs titled I Will Never Feel Like Home and CUNT. 2 more songs, Hurt and My Love Is a Lie, would be released just the following week, with a music video for Thorns scheduled for release. All of these new songs were self-produced. Fans were very excited, as she seemed to be gearing up for a full-scale comeback. These songs were more akin to her previous work than any of the tracks on 313, but are also somewhat in their own category, relying on more electronic-heavy production, though her iconic trademark scream vocals are back on full display again. There was talk of her self-producing her first full-length release officially, and die-hard fans were once again hyped about the briefly revived interest in her career. The music video for Thorns was ultimately scrapped when the director received a domestic abuse allegation, and once again Porcelain dropped under the radar, with her last releases being those 2020 releases on her YouTube channel. While her YouTube channel is a graveyard, Porcelain Black is still sporadically active on Tumblr and Instagram, with a private Twitter account, though she doesn't appear to mention music much on her social media accounts. Interestingly, in 2023 she released a song under the name Swan Black Swan titled Fling. It's really good. There's some very interesting electronic production elements on it and bears some similarities to the Porcelain and the Tramps era, but I don't think a lot of her fans even realised this was released. I didn't until I was putting this video together. She appears to be dividing her time between Beverly Hills and Detroit, with some fans speculating she's living off the residuals of her co-written and ghostwritten material. It is a huge shame. She had a very lightning in a bottle sound, particularly in the Porcelain and the Tramps era, and it would have been amazing to see an artist with such a unique sound hit the mainstream. It will be interesting to see if Porcelain ever returns to music in the future, though after all she's had to contend with, it would be entirely understandable if she didn't. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Were you a fan of Porcelain Black back in the day? I was absolutely obsessed with her music when I was a kid. I remember waiting year on year for her album Under Red One to come out, and eventually just kind of stopped following her journey after all the delays. I did tune back in for those releases during COVID, and that was a very exciting time. Please subscribe if you enjoyed and you're not yet. I'm really trying to hit 5k as soon as possible, and it would mean a lot if you could help me get there. Stay safe, look after yourself. I'll catch you in another video. Bye!